Alright, here we go. I don't know if it was recording last time. I couldn't check. It wouldn't let me. This is r/no sleep. Sleep. This is r/no sleep. Alright. We got a pretty creepy story that I looked through a little bit. Yeah, I got to about, I don't remember. Whatever. We'll just reread from the beginning. Come to Daddy. You'd probably be surprised at the number of bodies one can find out in the desert. You'd probably be even more surprised at how often people play with the bodies. But I don't know. Since most of us are tweakers or disadvantaged youth doomed to repeat the mistakes of our alcoholic mothers and abusive fathers, maybe you wouldn't be surprised at all. My best friend, Cameron, found last winter's corpse du jour. An old man in a dilapidated trailer. A white beard matted with corpse juice hung past his bony knees. So Cameron bought him a Santa hat from the Dollar Tree and christened him Satan Claus. Satan Claus was a popular attraction among High Desert's underbelly until Gidget gagged and blabbed to her brother, who was a deputy sheriff. This ticked Cameron off. He didn't grow up there, so he didn't understand the rules. There's always a snitch, there's always a whiner, there's always a freak, and there's always someone who fantasizes about killing you. Even if he understood, he'd never have believed that I was both the freak and the person who fantasized about killing him. I'd known Cameron since we were teenage patients at a county psychiatric facility. It was the first time in our lives either of us had security or structure. I miss it, honestly. We moved in together the second we could. For the record, we weren't lovers. We never even experimented. Could never separate sex from trauma and didn't particularly want to try, so I was voluntarily celibate. Celibate? I don't know. This enchanted Cameron because he has a Madonna whore complex the size of Babylon. Oh God. Oh wow. Oh, this is... Oh, this is sexual. Oh, I can't read this. Wow, that swapped really fast. Nope. Okay, well that sucked. Alright. Hold on. No, don't. Okay, hot posts. Let's go to top. This year. Why not? Okay, anyone want to comment one that I should read if anyone's here? Alright. No, I'm just gonna pick another one. Oh, Minnie read this one by first breath. I answered a spam call. I'm gonna go ahead and go with... Let's go with My Girlfriend Talks in Her Sleep. I'm infatuated with her. Utterly infatuated. And it wasn't as a healthy level. Far from it. I would think about her every moment she was away. Sometimes sit on my couch and just stare at my phone waiting for her to text. I'd tell myself, don't contact her. Don't. Come off as too strong. And I'd still find myself clicking her name on my contact list before her inner voice would continue. You don't want her to know how desperately smitten you are with her. It's unattractive. It'll scare her off. No. You must wait for her to call you this time. but it was excruciating and exhausting, almost unbearable. Once heard that the ancient Greeks believed that falling madly and irrationally in love with somebody was a curse that you would wish upon your enemies. I could never understood what they meant. After all, isn't falling head over heels in love the ultimate goal nowadays? But now that it's happened to me, I have to say, the ancient Greeks were right. This is a curse. I was barely in control of myself, almost as though my infatuation with her had. Okay. Is this more sexual? I'll read it anyway. Two of us were sexually active together, but still in the dating phase. Ooh, this feels awkward to read. That make or break era of a blossoming relationship where we either have the talk, formally be in a relationship, or we'd start to slowly drift apart. The latter of which I don't think I'd be able to cope with. Honestly, I wouldn't be able to. Almost everything about her captivated me. The way she held her hand over her mouth when she laughed, how she'd caress the pendant on her necklace when she was frightened. She twirled her hair in a finger when she was excited. All of it. Her smell, her smile, her eyes. Yeah, I know, probably makes you sick reading it. I feel the same way. I was never the hopeless romantic type. But now I can't stop fantasizing about her. Think about us doing the long 3-hour hike up to that magnificent view from one of our first dates. To that first kiss as we overlooked the lights of the city. But this time I'd get down on one knee, bring out the ring, and, well, you know what would happen next. Alright, fine, I'll stop. Yes, this is a girl that I've been casually dating for a couple of months. Shouldn't be thinking about proposing yet. I know that. I'm just barely able to control myself any longer. I feel as though I'm losing power over the decisions I make. That brings me to why I'm here writing this out at the moment. It started with the first real thing that troubled me about her. We never actually spent a night together. No matter how late she was over, once either of us showed signs of being tired, she'd up and leave. She wouldn't leave awkwardly or in anger. Just a casual kiss, a good night. Just a casual kiss goodnight, a smile, and a call me soon. Something I didn't really even notice the first few times she did it. But after about almost 8 weeks of dating, it was becoming strange. I'd have to ask her about it. It took drinking almost an entire bottle of wine before I had the courage to do it. She looked almost defeated when I asked and lowered her eyes in embarrassment. I knew this talk would come eventually. She started. She took a deep breath with a long, drawn-out exhale. Recently, she paused again. I started talking in my sleep. She shook her head in embarrassment. It's called I don't know how to say it. I looked it up. I shrugged and laughed out loud. My demeanor seemed to say it. That's it? Oh, my demeanor seemed to say, that's it? No, Stephen, listen, she said. She wasn't laughing. It's bad. It's completely out of control. It's not just random words or gibberish. No, it's horrible. I say horrible, disgusting things, she says. She was starting to raise her voice, breath heavy, and tear up. I approached her and held her. Told her it couldn't be that bad. Told her to spend the night. Told her she was probably exaggerating. I was wrong. That night, she stayed at my house. But she warned me of something before falling asleep. Whatever you do, don't wake me up. Makes me really scared and disoriented. I got it, Kaylin, chill. Okay, anyway. Whatever you do, don't wake me up. Makes me really scared and disoriented if that happens. And don't respond to me. Just ignore it. I nodded and agreed. If it becomes too much, she continued, just leave the room, sleep on the couch. I won't mind. Told her not to worry about it. Told her that it wouldn't be a big deal. Told her that I wouldn't leave the couch. I'd stay beside her in bed. But I was wrong. I couldn't even last one night. Both fell asleep without incident. Don't know how many hours passed. But I woke up in the dark with the sensation that someone was watching me. Then I remembered. She was with me. She was actually spending the night. I smiled. But then I noticed the shadowy outline of her sitting up in bed. She's looking down at me. Staring. It creeped me out, I'll admit it. Her posture was entirely different. It was as though it wasn't even her at all. Then she spoke. It wasn't her voice that I heard. It was much lower and gravelly, like something out of a horror movie. I'll chew the face and I'll chew the skin from your bones, she said. I froze. First, I just kept looking at her. This was not at all what I expected. I thought it would be more like the way Tourette's is often portrayed. Just random swearing and shouting. I honestly thought to myself, what will I do if she attacks me right now? What if she really does try and chew the skin from my bones? And she just lied back down and went back to sleep. I was creeped out. I tried to lie back down and think about and ignore her, but I struggled. I couldn't even close my eyes without thinking maybe she's sitting up again and staring at me. And then one time I rolled over to look at her. And she was. Her face pressed right towards mine. Her breath was foul and rotted, something that was certainly not normal for her. She spoke again in this, if you don't move to the couch, you'll be dead by morning. That did it for me. I sat up in a moment and headed for the living room. She made some sort of wheezing sound as I left. I think it was supposed to be laughter. I was shaking on the couch, but I wasn't going to be able to fall back asleep. I was far too shaken. I was staring at the window, hoping to see the first few hints of the sun rising. Then I heard something from the bedroom, and I listened. Then I heard it again. Steven. It was the same low and gravelly voice. Sounded like a witch. I tried to ignore it at first, but then it continued. Steven. Still, I said nothing. I know you can hear me, Steven. You're awake now. Why don't you come back into the bedroom? The voice barely sounded human. Or maybe you'd prefer if I come to you? I still didn't say anything. I was told not to, but I listened. If I heard her start walking towards the bedroom door, I'm not even joking, I would run right out of the apartment. She asked me not to respond to her sleep talking, so I didn't. Then I heard her once more. Sorry if this spoils your plans. The two of you were supposed to walk that trail again. You'd both be so tired when you reach the top. You'd look over the city, and you'd get down on one knee, and bring out the ring. And that's when I realized this wasn't just a problem with sleep talking. It was something much more, something supernatural. I'd never told anybody about my proposal fantasy. There was simply no way she could have known about it. This was no longer about merely talking in one's sleep. This was about possession. I can't go back into the bedroom. I have no idea what would happen if I did. Instead, going to wait it out. holed up in my living room until the sun rises. I have a couple more hours yet. You were laughing occasionally in the bedroom. It's still not her voice. It's that same low-pitched cackle. But as I sit on my couch writing this out, here's what scares me the most. Maybe my infatuation and utter obsession with her wasn't normal. I said before that I felt like I was losing control of myself. More so, I believe, than the typical falling in love story. No. I fear that the infatuation I felt was the entity slowly taking control of me. Of it controlling my thoughts, fears, and ambitions, and anxieties. Maybe once I become completely absorbed, the transfer would occur. I should be free of it. I know I should leave, that I should open the front door and get in my car and drive away from here. But I can't. I can't leave her. I've already lost control. I'm infatuated with her. Utterly infatuated with her. That was really creepy. That was creepy. That was freaking creepy. That was utterly creepy. Holy crap. Let's see. How long is this one? Let's see. It's fairly short. Yeah, it's not that bad. I'll read this one. Yes, I can see people's auras. And I hate saying it so bluntly. It makes me sound like some hack psychic who fakes the ability as a means of exploitation and a paycheck. Never made money from my ability. Never taken advantage of it. And until now, I've never spoken of it to anybody. Oh, excuse me. But I really do see them. And I'm starting to view it as more of a curse. I have a reason for typing this out, and I assure you, there isn't a happy ending. For me, it's quite simple. I see a faint light surrounding people, everyone, and in that light, I can see their morality. The brighter and more translucent the light is, the better the person. The darker and more opaque, correct English, thank you, the worse. Dim and partly translucent are morally ambiguous. To simplify things, those are the three ways I describe them. Dark equals evil, bright equals good, dim equals somewhere in between. It's strange. I've always viewed the people with gray/dim auras as arbiters, mediators, people in between, the one who aren't one or the other and will always have difficult decisions to make. I was a child when I first became aware of my gift. It didn't take long to figure out that the brighter auras were kinder to me and selfless. Both of my parents are good people. My father's aura was quite a bit brighter than my mother's. As a result, he was always far more patient and understanding with me. Clear to see that my teachers and fellow students with brighter auras were usually friendly and more compassionate. Dark auras were the stereotypical fighters, lunch money stealers, and bullies. I would say I was around 8 years old when I fully figured out that I have a gift most people don't have, that possibly nobody else has. I've read some of the New Age websites and alternative medicine articles that give their take on aura reading. While I believe the mass majority of it is bullcrap, I expect there to be at least some other people out there with my ability, so I don't want to completely dismiss those people as an outright hoax. It's just that, for me, it doesn't work anything like the way those websites describe. I visited numerous aura readers and psychics, and most of them have dim or dark auras around themselves. I'm certain they don't really hold this power. I'm not saying all psychics are terrible people. I visited a few who have I visited a few who had very bright auras. They were unable to convince me that they really have psychic powers. That they, at the very least, use their deception to try and help people. You need to understand. I'm going to end this entry by sharing a terrifying event that is happening to me. But before I get to that, there are a few more things I need to explain. I imagine many of you are curious just to see what type of aura is the most common. Happy to tell you that majority of the people are somewhere between dim and bright. I see very few dark auras. This isn't scientific, and I haven't traveled the world plotting out charts and graphs, but I'd estimate 60% of people are brightish, 25% are dimish, leaving just around 15% darkish. Again, these are just estimates. What's the precise difference between, say, bright and dim? I have no idea. But rest assured, there's far more bright in the world than dark. The next thing I'd like to discuss is children. I can see a person's aura right from birth. Never encountered an aura changing as someone ages. I'm not sure what this means for the whole nature versus nurture debate. And I'm not saying that everyone with a dark aura always behaves terribly or vice versa. A person with a bright aura might be born in horrible conditions, acquire drug problems, resort to thievery to feed their addiction. The difference is this. Bright aura thief with a horrible upbringing may rob someone, but they would never intentionally hurt someone in the process. A dark aura thief would kill someone if they could get away with it without even a second thought. Another interesting note. I found the ratio between bright, dim, and dark to be similar across pretty much all human activities. Whenever I'm at church or a death metal concert, it always seems to be around the same 60-25-15 ratio. I once visited a funeral prison and was shocked to see that at least half of the prisoners had bright auras. I had to be at prison in person to see this, because I can't see auras on photographs, television shows, or movies, or even in mirrors. I can only see auras in the real world. Another strange thing, I can't even see my own aura. I assume and hope I would be on the brighter spectrum, but I can't see it. The brightest person I ever saw was a social worker. She shone so bright that it was difficult for me to even look at her. Based on the way people acted in her presence, I think that almost everyone around her could sense her brightness in a subconscious way. Everyone loved her. She had donated a kidney to someone she barely even knew. She had special needs adopted child. Most of the money she earned was donated to various charities. And that's only the little that I knew of her. This woman shined so brightly that she scared me. It was scary that someone could be so good. But it wasn't nearly as scary as the darkest person I ever saw. I was 20 years old at the time, leaving a club downtown at 2 a.m. Man quietly walked the street. I didn't see him at first, but I noticed the light dimming around me. This man was so dark that he partly absorbed the light around him. I looked at him long and hard. He looked desperate, cruel, and callous. He looked up and locked his eyes with me. It made me fall back. He smirked, as though he knew what I could see. His face, I saw his face up close. I would never forget it. and I recognized it when I saw his mugshot a few weeks later in the newspaper. He had murdered his ex-wife and 2 children in cold blood. I think I need to get to it now. The reason why I'm writing this out. I fell in love a year ago. She didn't shine anywhere near as bright as what I've seen before, but she most assuredly wasn't dark or even dim. She was beautiful. Her sense of humor, her wit, her everything. She was my dream woman, and I've never told her anything about all the auras I see. I could go into far more about her, but this isn't a love story. What's important is this. We fell in love, she got pregnant, we got married, we were happy. We were so happy. I remember hearing the buzz of my phone 2 mornings ago. I remember my excitement when I saw "It's happening" come to the hospital. I remember my frustration when I got stuck in traffic. I remember how long it took to find a parking spot. I remember shouting at a nurse, "What room is my wife in?" I remember bursting through a door and seeing a smile on my wife's face. I remember seeing the doctor. His light shining so bright, as he told me, "Congratulations, it's a boy." The doctor held him up to me, and all the light in the room dissipated. "No, this can't be," I remember saying. The doctor put him in my arms. The darkness around my son was so absolute that I could barely even see him. He was a void. He was so dark that the world barely even existed around him. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced. I started weeping. I think my wife and the doctor thought they were tears of joy, but they weren't. Lord knows they weren't. I think back to the dark outline around that man who murdered his family. It was up to that point the darkest I'd ever seen. But the darkness around my son was 100 times worse. 1,000 times worse. And what could possibly be 1,000 times worse than murdering your entire family? It's been 2 days. We're home now. My son's darkness is so extreme that it dims the hallway leading to his room. My wife knows something is wrong. I think she suspects that I'm having regrets about having children at all. If only she knew. What do I do? He's my son. Just 20 minutes ago I stood above him, holding a pillow over his face, but I couldn't do it. Not yet, anyway. A man who could murder his 2-day-old baby boy. What color would his aura be? Here's the thought that keeps going through my mind as I sit here alone. Fathers of our worst. Adolf Hitler's, Joseph Stalin's, Timothy McVeigh's. Their fathers knew what they would become. Would they murder them in the cradle? Would they have the strength to hold down the pillow as long as it takes? I can see the door of my son's room from my office. The hallway seems to be growing darker. I look down at my hands as I type this. Maybe I'm going crazy, but there seems to be an aura around my hands and arms now. It's gray. It's dim. Maybe it's always been dim. I'm looking down at the pillow beside me. The grayish dim outline around my hands becomes more apparent than ever. Maybe it's time. Maybe this is why I have this gift. It all comes down to right now. Maybe it's time. I think it's time. That's it. That's all I've got time for. So did anyone even join? Nope. Alright. Well, see you guys next time.